Alright, so today we're learning how to make a Lego man cry. So I got my blank Krita document here. It's a great free program. Highly recommend it. Anyway, I pull in my picture file and it starts a new Krita document. First thing I need to do is start a new paint layer. This will pop up on the side. And I want to make sure this layer is above my picture layer because this is what we're going to do all our painting on. So I go to my Dockers, this is under settings, because I need a few additional tools here for animation. I select my animation Docker, my timeline Docker, and my onion skinning Docker. We'll go into the details of some of these a little later on. In my timeline, of course, I have access to each frame of the animation. First thing I want to do is start a new frame, click on that, and now we're going to start painting. First thing we're going to paint is a little bit of shimmer in the eyes. This is kind of that like light reflecting when your eyes gloss over. You'll see it in a lot of cartoons and anime. So using my color selection tool, I get the color of his little eyeball thing, his own little shimmer, and I add a little one in each eye. So after that, I just make it a little bigger. I add a couple more shimmers, and now I go create a new frame, a new paint frame. Click on that, and you see that my shimmers have disappeared. So I want some kind of guide for where I should draw the next ones. So this is where my onion skinning down here comes in handy. I have it set to where it'll pop up in red the previous frame. So just click on that little light bulb in the timeline, and then the red silhouette of the last frame pops up. This is a great guide for painting in each frame. You can make sure you are consistent with where your painting is, where the animation is going. So I'm just making the shimmers a little bit bigger over the span of 3 frames. There we go. Now you can see them growing a little bit. And now I'm just gonna save myself some time. I'm gonna copy the last 2, copy them to the clipboard, and paste them. And I'm just going to keep doing this for a while, and then I'll copy a larger selection here, paste that a bunch of times until I have about 10 seconds or so of just his eyes kind of shimmering a little bit. Let's see. And in this animation box, this is where I've got my frame rate, play speed. I've got, pause, next frame, all that stuff. And I've got a whole bunch of other stuff that's really not that important to get into at this exact moment. But what is important is the frame rate. So I'm going to change that from 24 to 15, which I typically animate at. Alright, so now it's time to add a few blinks. His eyes are getting hot, he's starting to tear up, and he's blinking a little bit. So using my color selection tool again, I get the correct color around his eyeball area, and I'm just adding a few closing lids. Just maybe a quarter of the way closed, if that. The whole blink is gonna be 3 frames, and the first and last are gonna look identical, with the middle one being just about completely closed lids. And that looks terrible, so try again, switch out the color. There you go, you got a nice blink. Looks kind of weird, but it works. So I'm gonna, instead of painting a whole third one, I'm just gonna copy the first one. So I've got now a closing and opening of the eyes. And now it's time to start adding those tears. So I have my paintbrush tool, and I've chosen the color white with a 21% opacity. This makes it look really transparent, and it works pretty effectively for the eyes. So I'm adding that, and just adjusting the size, making it a little bit bigger in the next few frames. This is where the onion skinning really comes in handy, because you want to add the tears welling up just a little bit different each frame, so you get, again, that kind of shimmering effect. So now we actually want to add a second blink. So I copy my first 3 blinking frames, and I'm going to paste them, and I'm going to actually add the little bit of tears welling up at the bottom, and then kind of spreading out a little bit when he closes his eyes. Demon eyes for a second there. Add a little splash. This is detail you might not catch in the final product, but depending on the light, how cropped in it is, you might. And I'm going to add the tears again, the tears welling up at the bottom. A few more frames of that. All right, now I've got a good shimmer going on. I'm going to copy all those frames of the kind of shimmering tears welling up in the bottom. I'm going to paste them a few times to make sure that we've got a lot of footage to work with here of just him being a sad boy. Why is he sad? I don't know. Come up with a reason in the comments. All right. So now what we want to do is actually add some genuine weeping. So we've got some tears. They've welled up so much they're going to start running down his face. So this is where... So I use the onion skinning here again. This really helps me, helps guide where, you know, that tear stream is kind of going down his face. I got it coming down to his mouth and then running off to the side a little bit. You can almost taste the saltiness. And then it's welling up at the bottom there. It's going to well up into a drop that's eventually going to plop right out. Fall off his face. Very sad. And I'm actually going to have that happen a second time. So you got 2 drops that come off from his face. And again, I've got this sped up quite a bit. This whole video, the whole editing process probably took me about a half hour to do all of this. But I'm speeding it up so you don't have to sit through all that boring painting. All right, I got my second tear coming down. And you want to pay attention to your earlier frames too, like when he starts crying, because you want to be able to create a loop with this. So again, you can do that copy pasting trick where you make him cry for quite a bit of time. And here I am, I'm copying, I'm pasting it. And in this particular video, the crying gets kind of intense. I mean, it seems maybe, you know, you could really experiment a lot with this, with what creates the best, most realistic crying effect. You know, maybe you're not looking for realistic, maybe you're looking to give him like anime waterfall tears. That's cool too. You know, just use these same principles and adjust them a little bit. All right, so now I'm done. I've got about 10 seconds of footage or so. I'm gonna wanna render my animation. I'm gonna do this as an image sequence. I'm gonna save it sadboi, and then I'm gonna render it. This will take a little time. Let's skip ahead. So now it rendered as an image sequence. I've got all my images here in a folder. I'm just going to render them in my animation software. Got 120 frames, it looks like. And we've got our finished product. All right, thank you for watching. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell and all that jazz. Let me know if there's any other tutorials you'd like to see, you know, anything you've seen me do in my videos and you're curious about it. I'm looking to make more of these, so just let me know what you want. The rest of Season 2 of the LEGO Zombie Apocalypse is on its way, and thanks to coronavirus, I have more time to work on it, so that's fun.